Welcome to Plot Armor Online, where authors log in, level up, and sling spells of prose across the realms of fantasy and sci-fi. Dive deep into world building, battle-broken character arcs, and explore magic systems that defy the laws of reality. And maybe logic, too. Each week, a new companion is summoned to raid the latest releases and roast tired tropes with fiery hot takes. Whether you're crafting the first chapter or slaughtering darlings in your 10th rewrite, grab your quill, equip your shield, and roll for initiative. This is Plot Armor Online, hosted by Kevin and Matthew, two scribes on a quest through the multiverse of authorship.
Hello and welcome. This is episode 4 of Plot Armor Online. My name is Kevin. My co-host Matthew.
Hello, hello.
And right below me, we have Mr. Christopher Michael, the one and only. How are you doing today, Chris?
How you doing? I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Well, other than it being a really hot day in Texas, humid to the point where I feel like I need to take 4 showers a day.
Yep. Yeah, I'm in South
Just
Florida.
walked
So
in. There's your shower.
Yeah.
Hasn't
So-
even started. And it's a dry heat when it does, so I can't complain too much.
Yeah, well,
Oh, Utah's beautiful.
you're up in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's get going today. So we have Mr. Christopher Michael. He's going to be our guest author today, and we're going to be talking about his current book and some upcoming news for him. Today's deep dive topic we're going to get into afterwards is inspiration. What is your inspiration for writing? How do you find it? We have some cover reveals that we'll go over later, and then some other news in the indie author front. Try not to be as controversial as last week.
Oh God, was it bad?
Cat Pope, yeah. Anyway,
Oh, okay.
Nothing like that. But there is some news from Amazon. There's some other news. I've actually got some news this week. But anyway, so let's get into it. Chris, how about you let us and the audience know introduction. Tell us who you are. Those that don't know already.
Like you said, name. Yeah, I know, right? Oh, that's a lot of people that don't know. So my name's Christopher Michael. Right now, I'm a current law enforcement officer, federal agent, veteran, Army. So you've talked about it before. So we got some stuff in common. Infantry, did that for between guard and active duty about 15 years. So I've only got one book out right now. That's the first volume in Danforth, Eldritch Tales of World War II. Put that out in September, kind of to take advantage of the Halloween season. But it's my first ever like release that I've ever had. Getting into it, I guess it's like it was of a little bit of a rapid fire type of thing that I guess didn't think was going to happen, but it did. Now I'm committed to doing the series and seeing where that takes me, like self-published and doing the indie scene.
So you're a border patrol agent down in Florida, right?
Yeah, it's interesting one. I did border patrol. And I was in El Paso at the time. I was working about an hour south of El Paso at the time. Did that for just about 6 years. Then there was an opening down in South Florida. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'll take it. Is to come to Border Patrol is a unique animal. It's like you find a lot of things. Everything's based on the seniority of how long you've been in and stuff like that. So a lot of the places that people want to go are taken by people who've been in for a long, long time, and the places where people don't want to go are always open. And yeah, I saw one in South Florida. I was like, oh, that one's open. I'll take that one. And I was like, I don't know why people don't go there. And then you go, it's like, and it's here the keys, and you're like, oh yeah,
As soon as you
it's
get there, it's like,
expensive.
that's why. Yeah, those
Yep. It's like,
obscure
that makes sense.
posts that you get assigned
Oh, like
to, they're
like
always open.
Presidio, Texas.
Yeah, they're
Oh man,
always.
Presidio, Texas, Sanderson, Texas, Ajo, Arizona.
Well, that's like
Yeah, those are the ones where people don't like to go there.
in the army. They're always looking for
Mm.
people to go to Korea.
Oh, I did a year in Korea. Wasn't voluntary though, damn sure.
So
I remember it was like they just dropped that on me.
this picture that you have of you, I'm guessing it looks like it's in a chopper, Blackhawk maybe.
Yeah.
Is that your time
hmm
in the army, or is that was that Border
That was
Patrol?
Army. That was actually recently. No, I was in National Guard at that time. So I'm in the like the Scout Sniper platoon or my infantry company, and at that time we were actually doing operations with the fifth group guys.
Okay,
So that was when I
don't
was doing that. I was border patrol at that time too. So
they don't go anything that's going to get you in trouble, but that's cool.
oh, that's all good.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was gonna say that patch on your helmet almost looks like the 75th scroll, but uh,
It's a ranger scroll, but it's a scroll that was the Lurse scroll. So when I was in Fort Bragg, when I got there in 2009, I tried out for the long range surveillance company and
LRSD.
got in, and that. Yep. So I was in the Lurse D. I was in FCO 51st. At that time, it was changing over to the Charlie 138th. But yeah, it was cool. But like anybody who ever either served in a Lurstee or knows about the Lurstee, it was like they were all things Ranger, 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 Ranger.
Nice.
The tab check get dropped, do push-ups. So it was all things Ranger.
My section sergeant, when I was in when I got pinned sergeant myself, back in, I think it was like
hmm
06, 07. It was about the time I actually wrote the
hmm
summary synopsis for the Eldritch like story concept.
Okay.
17 years ago. I was sitting in a nice little fob called
Dang,
Camp.
man.
I was sitting in a fob called Camp Habania. It was a Marine base, but
Iraq.
anyway, yeah, like right smack dab between Fallujah and Ramadi. And my section
Oh,
sergeant
nice.
served on Lurch D. He was their comms guy.
hmm
He was the commo guy
Oh, cool. Yeah.
that carried the man pack. And now he's
Yeah.
then he transferred over to be a Avenger system crew member for a while, but we weren't
Nice.
over there for
Yep.
that either. We were both my tours in Iraq was number one 0405. We were in Baghdad
hmm
as mechanized infantry,
Mhm.
bunch of air defenders over there
Okay.
doing ground pounding, and but
Nice.
we had our Avenger system with the 50 cal coax,
hmm
the M3P, uh,
Yep.
M3P, yeah. Anyway, and then second deployment, we were actually doing CRAM, counter rocket artillery and mortar, uh, with the phalanx system.
Okay.
All that
hmm
in the middle of the night.
Yep. hmm
But
Dun, dun, dun,
All right.
dun,
So
dun.
what draws you Army boys to writing about Eldritch stuff?
yeah,
Since you're both
I
you're
was
both
gonna
going down that path.
I was gonna ask Chris that. That was like what I'm gonna be my thing. Like, hey, so is there something about the army that draws you to the Eldritch? Because yours is more like traditional Lovecraftian stuff. um, but it's set in World War II time frame. So tell us about that.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I was, I guess, kind of a latecomer to like Lovecraft stuff. The funny thing was, is like I remember, and maybe since you were deployed, you were probably playing video games and that. For the original Xbox, they had Call of Cthulhu: Dark Corners of the Earth. Um,
Mhm.
old game. Some people remember it, some people don't.
I never
It
had
was
an
buggy
Xbox,
as
so
hell. Oh, shame on you. I don't know if we can continue this interview,
I
but
was a play I was a PlayStation and PC kind of like I was a computer and PlayStation guy, but I rarely played a PlayStation, so I was
oh,
mostly computer.
oh, those PC people thinking they're like the master race or something.
That's a
Oh, my stuff's so much faster than yours.
that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah. So but yeah, so instead of talking shit, so I played that game and I really loved it. It was a good time. But I guess I had no clue that it was like Lovecraft. um I think
Mm.
it was just like later on I remember like going through like some books like on Kindle or something along those lines, and I remember seeing Call of Cthulhu and I was like, oh shit, this was a book. Didn't even know, because apparently I was stupid. um and then I started reading it, and I don't know, there was like something about it that just sort of like got me. Like, I don't know if it was because it was like that kind of things that take place, kind of like the pulp detective novels, things like that that take place kind of in that, pre World War II era and everything like that. So that already hooked, and then of course, like like the cult stuff, the creatures, like all that stuff. It was just really cool seeing that there was like this kind of created universe that had gone on way before like all these other ones that we kind of know about that are really popular. Um, and then I guess just sort of stuff from the army, like from, like deployment and things like that, like or like overseas tours, like doing a lot of. I've always been into this stuff like ghost hunting, kind of like the creepy macabre side of things and stuff like that. So I guess those things kind of rolled together, and that was what kind of made it so I could um, write this novel. I was This novel wasn't supposed to happen, honestly. It was more just like an Easter egg from another art novel that was kind of military based, but Lovecraftian.
Mm.
But, I guess one of the things that's kind of about Eldritch stuff, I guess, is you like to keep that sort of aura of mystery, and
Yeah, that
the one I
mystery
was
of the
writing
unknown.
on kind of. Yeah, and that's the thing, was this one was set in the modern day, and it started to just get so big and bloated and stuff like that that it just wasn't really surviving itself. Like, I was like, dude, okay,
Mm.
this has gone from that kind of mystery to like ridiculous levels of like there's no way that government would be able to cover this up type of stuff. But I remembered that little Easter egg with Danforth, and I was like, well, that was World War II. I think I can do that. And then I started typing on it. It was kind of therapy too for some of like my PTSD issues and things like that. It was just
Mm.
trying to learn better habits and like like going through therapy and things like that. So I started writing, and then the next thing you know, it was like I wrote the whole novel. I think probably in less than like 90 days. So I cranked pretty fast.
So would you say that your choice to write in World War II was because it was probably a little bit better to not write about conspiracy theories in modern time on Lovecraftian
Yeah,
topics?
it just
A little
I get.
distance between reality and
Yeah, but there's so many people who probably believe that it's 100% real and stuff like that. So it's yeah, like I guess it was one of the things where it's like the things nowadays, like when people come to me about, especially in the military and having like a TS clearance and stuff, this is like when people come to you who have no idea about like how the military works, people in the military, like the levels of like secrecy or whatever, not, it's like they'll tell you some sort of conspiracy theory about modern day, and especially if it has to do with the military. It's kind of like, oh my god, man, no.
Break out your
It's like first off, there's
tinfoil hat.
yeah, like it's like first off, there's no way some private would be able to keep that secret. I'm telling you that right. Tard would get
Right.
immediately on social media and drop that all over the place. Like even the things where they're like, "Do you think the military has like UFOs?" I'm like, I guarantee if they had a spaceship, there would be some moron who would take a selfie and like put it on Discord or something. Like it
That
just yeah. So or like on secret underground bases, stuff like that.
yeah, it would all be it would all be exposed or covered up, like the
Yeah.
Inside Job
So
off of what was it, Netflix? I think it was the Inside Job, the deep
hmm
state stuff. Oh, that was an interesting
yeah. So
cartoon.
I mean, you see the like even the simplest things that our government tries to cover is like they can't even cover up their own fuck
Yeah,
ups half the time, let alone trying to like keep like eldritch beings that could destroy the world like under wraps or something like that. So that story started to kind of go in on itself, but then the World War II one really took effect, and especially trying like with these upcoming ones and things like that is like wrap it into the real life like Nazi occultism and some of the things that they were all about. That was uh I mean surprisingly easy to write. It pretty much wrote itself. So like
So
yeah,
it made it pretty
fun.
fun.
I haven't I haven't read it yet, but I know on your thing it says something with the pharaoh. So is it based in Egypt in
Hmm.
that region of the world, or just like the Nazis hitting
Yes.
the thing? And yeah, I know that's like a oh Nazis, but I mean it's a historical book, so
Hmm.
kind of conspiracy.
Yeah. Well, so the thing that I did was I'm a super big student of history and World War II and things like that. So and no matter what book it is that I'm writing on stuff, no matter what story, I always try to keep everything as historically accurate as I absolutely can. Like I'll even adjust the plot around like historical events just to make sure that it's like to establish that that still happens. So with this one, it's like everything historically and stuff like that is like with like Operation Crusader in North Africa, the nightlife of Cairo, like all of that stuff, or like even the levels of espionage going on because Danforth's now. Did you at the Mountains of Madness?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So with Mountains, you know, Danforth is the character that goes crazy in Mountains. Well, he's managed to at the end of the book, they even say he's kind of managed to pull himself together a little bit. Well, it's 10 years later, and he gets recruited by what would become the OSS, based on his occult knowledge. So it's using like the things like everything historically accurate. Like it's got memos in there from Colonel William Donovan, like transcripts. I went through pretty meticulous detail to try to make it as historically accurate as I possibly could.
Nice. So you did a lot
That's
of
really
research
cool.
for this.
Yeah, a lot. Like even like not just the operations and stuff like that, but trying to figure out like timelines, how long things would take to get from one place to another,
Hmm.
how things would be, and trying to use some of my military background on it too to I think it was important to make sure that that was historically accurate and everything was real so that when people are reading it, it gives them more of that feeling that this seems like it could potentially happen, so to speak.
So given that some of the topics that you're talking about in the book, have you gotten any misconstrued negative feedback on it because of it?
No, no, none. A lot of the stuff is like um I don't think that I've had anything in terms of like people giving me feedback or reviews that sort of like misconstrue everything is like,
You know what I'm
you
talking
know,
about, right?
they're still kind of like so, like what like I guess what are you kind of talking about?
Well, like the topics that you have in the book, like with the Nazis and stuff. Have you gotten any negative
Oh
like
no,
commentary or anything like that because you had them involved? Today's day and age and whatnot, everybody's like, "Oh no, that's
yeah.
bad." I mean, and it is, and it's
No,
historical
and then
to talk about. But
The Nazis are bad guys. Yeah, like I mean, it's the thing where it's like the Nazis are villains. They have like their occult things going on. I studied up on a lot of the things that they're um like with the SS and how they did their occult studies and stuff like that. So I don't know. I try to portray it as like I said, like as accurate as possible. But it's like with Danforth, he's also into occultism and stuff. So even though he's following like after the Nazis to figure out what it is they're doing and maybe thwart their plan, he's also obsessed with that unknown knowledge. So he's almost kind of, I'm not going to say he wants them to complete their tasks, but he's also curious in the same questions that they're asking and stuff.
so did you draw from for the Eldritch part of it? And I apologize in my ignorance because I haven't had the chance to read your book yet, but it's really interesting because I know some of the Lovecraftian tales and whatnot. Did you actually draw from
Mhm.
Lovecraft for your entity, or did you kind of
Yes.
combine some and create your own, or how'd you go about that?
So in this first volume, um, spoiler alerts and stuff like that. So the Black Pharaoh is a lot of this came out of I guess you'd say like the Haunter of the Dark and that series and stuff with like the avatars and Nyarlathotep and the Black Pharaoh was like Nephron Ka was mentioned in that. So there's a lot of stuff that gets drawn from that. Like everything I'm drawing from is drawn straight from like Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos,
Yeah,
and
like the
I tried to
sun,
do it. Hmm.
the sun. Sorry, the herald, the sun that goes out and creates chaos, or
Hmm.
the
Yeah,
offspring.
yeah. So yeah, oh, like the Black Young of Shub-Niggurath and stuff like that. Like
Mhm.
it's
Uh,
like
I can never remember the names. Alphabet, usually, but
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's yeah, it is cool because it's like it allowed me to sort of like just take the occultism stuff that was so famous in Lovecraft, take that whole pantheon of weirdness he created, and then just sort of superimpose that into Nazi occultism and use that for the same kind of purposes and everything.
so you have an audiobook for Danforth.
Uh-huh.
Is that released now, or is
Yes.
that coming out soon, or what?
No. So it's going to be coming out probably, I would say, within the next week. So
Okay,
probably sometime next
Cool.
week it should be released.
and
Hmm.
that's through
Yeah, and it was never,
Audible or what?
yeah, it'll be Audible and so should be available in the three big ones. I'll see too if there's other because I'll file and stuff. I'm gonna see too if there's other platforms that I can release and stuff like that. JT Verona is the narrator, and man, he knocks it out of the park. I don't even know if I have enough compliments for his performance, but I mean it. There's parts where there's three different characters that all have three different accents, like an American, a Brit, and a Nazi SS agent, all having conversation, and he seamlessly jumps back and forth between three of them, and you wouldn't even know it was the same person.
That's got to be interesting. Dialogue is some of the hardest
Yeah,
stuff to write if you're not used to it.
mm. And in that part too, it's an interrogation SS agent, so it's this is another thing where I had to do the research was I wrote it in the format of an old World War II interrogation transcript. Like stenographers were hammering out in the background while they were doing the interrogation. So it's got the whole
Nice.
format and it's saying who's they saying what. So it kind of acts almost as a like a script, so to speak. So all you had to do is just kind of read off the script, then he just flips between the accents, and it's pretty cool.
Have you ever?
That
I'm
is
I'm gonna
cool.
s- I'm gonna spin slightly kind of off topic. Have you ever read or seen any of the SCP Foundation uh,
Oh yeah,
files?
yeah, definitely.
Are
Hmm.
you are you a fan
Yeah, I've
of
seen a
them?
bunch of those. Yeah, I mean, obviously some of them can get a little bit ridiculous and stuff like that, but
Right.
like I do like a lot of it. Like they can, it's cool because yeah, so when they based it off the like the Lovecraft mythos, and I guess what happened was like with Lovecraft, instead of um copywriting everything he did. He chose not to copyright everything he did. And he said that he actually liked for people to use his work and create like a big world.
Mm.
Like he invited people to come in. So he had this circle of friends that started using his characters and the things that he created and vice versa. So they were all kind of using their characters and their like the gods and the creatures and like all that stuff. They were invited to. So when they started doing that SPC Foundation thing, they sort of went off the same thing where it's like this is a shared like a shared author universe. It's like sort of fall within the lines of what we're trying to do here, but otherwise it's like everybody is open to be able to share in this, and I thought that was pretty cool about it.
Right. I like the whole like each event. I guess you could say each event, each file has its own uh, initialization, founding. This is our how we detected it. This is how we contain it. And this is our ongoing experiments to
Hmm.
figure out like what's going on with it and how its powers manifest, etc.
Hmm.
But anyway, I it was just
And that's why I love those author things. They're really, and maybe this is a little premature, but me and some of the members of the Dark Veil Society are putting out the Arkham Confidential, and it's sort of in that same vein. So it's shared author. Basically, it's like the idea is that it's collected stories from the Arkham Confidential, which is a investigative newspaper that went into the Arkham PD or the Essex County Sheriff's Major Crimes Division and drummed up all the old cases. You're gonna have these like different stories where it's looked at from sort of the same thing with like SCP, where it's looked at from a like a realist type of outlook where it's like, hey, it's like this is being reported on, we're just reporting and then like the readers can read kind of what's happening and get kind of infer their own thing of like, okay, what just happened in this cold case, like what happened to this person, like why is that there, oh okay, and they can start getting into that type of thing with the universe and everything that goes with it.
are you gonna have any artwork in like scattered throughout like little um you know how like files you've got the paper clip with the picture
Yes.
up at the top and stuff.
Nice.
I've been creating like fake 1800s news articles and stuff like that, like police reports, stuff like that, where it's like I've been like creating these fake documents and everything like that to be put
Nice.
in there so that I'm writing it sort of like the newspaper would be writing it and then showing like on the side like a clip of like the actual police report from the time and then translating it because it's too old to read now or
99%
something
of it
like that.
redacted.
Mm.
have it
Yeah, so
That's
just
fun.
it's
That's
been
a really
fun.
cool
I've been
idea.
loving it.
have it just out of like focus where it just looks like squiggly lines and a whole bunch of redaction blackness.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's like I've been like I'll put together like a picture like Canva or something for just random like little pieces where it starts to look like, maybe like police officers like in an area, but then I just turn it black and white and make it so grainy that you can just see that they're there, but not make out like
Right.
100% detail. It's like one of those old photos or something. It's
Some,
it's been a lot of fun. It's been a
something
lot of
off
fun.
of a like an old dot matrix
It's good.
printer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us about,
Well, and
because
mine's kind of, yeah.
I've got the
Go ahead.
picture here up next. Tell us about your volume 2. You have of you sent us this, and I'm excited to hear about it. Volume 2 of Danforth.
Yep. Yeah, so I'll be releasing that one soon. There's reasons I haven't. It's done. It's ready to go. But it's in limbo for just a little bit. So there's, like I said, there's reasons, but I'll talk about them another time. But it's this one's taking place in Romania. And one of the things that I did, so obviously during World War II, Romania was with the Axis. They were one of the larger forces that was invading the Soviet Union during Operation Barbarossa, all that stuff. And Danforth in Romania with OSS to work with like a resistance group to try to undermine the like the Axis stuff. It's going to be like a lot more dark, grim. I guess you could kind of say that the first one is like kind of in an Indiana Jones type of format. It's kind of like, oh, they're both after this kind of this relic and things like that. And so it kind of gives like that a little bit. And I also, even though I was using Lovecraft as an inspiration, I was also using the old Universal monsters as my inspiration too. So the first one kind of has that feel of like the Mummy and everything with like kind of like a darker eldritch twist on it. This one, with it being in Romania, obviously it's like it kind of had the inspirations of like Dracula and Nosferatu and stuff like that. And it's not so much like that relic hunt. It's more like occult ritualism and like spawning like deities and like a lot more kind of like the dark things that are going on and like it's bringing more of the Nazi occultism things into there too. So it's definitely an interesting one to write.
Nice. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties there. It almost like we're on the verge of dropping right now. So give us a moment.
Uh-oh.
Hopefully my
Still live.
yeah. I mean it's still live,
Saw it.
so
It paused
I
there,
think we're
but it's
good. But
still
it
going.
like it popped up on my screen. It was like doo 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 disconnected, and I was like,
Yeah.
no, like you're in the middle
Slight
of talking
difficulty.
about
No.
volume 2, and then it came back
I
up, and
know.
it was like reconnected. I was like, sweet, and then it was like 50% packet drop. I was like, oh, that's just bad. Hold on, text message. Like I'm too scared to click away from my OBS window. Uh,
Let it run.
so
So,
um,
Chris, what made you want to bring like vampires or Dracula into
So
the mix?
so it's not going to be like vampires. There's still going to be like the eldritch
Right.
entities, but
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I did was it was like so because when America entered World War II and their first real spot that they went to and stuff in like that theater was North Africa and stuff like that. Like Egypt just seemed like the obvious place for a springing off point. Um, but
Right.
something that I've been doing now when I've been planning out books is to go to places in World War II that have not gotten as much attention, I guess you could say. So, with like Romania and things like that, it's so rife with like kind of like this, like you said, vampire things and like the Slavic like the mystery and the darkness and things like that that are kind of associated with the country and
creatures of the
fiction.
night.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like so when you can take that and use it like that, it's like so you got a very lesser known area of World War II and the mysteries and stuff. So and then and I'm probably gonna be doing things with like China, Burma, India theater and things like that. So like places where people are not used to going because everybody's seen, World War II things. Like it's always like Egypt, maybe France, Germany, like Italy, maybe if you're like lucky and stuff. They or the Pacific. They kind of go to like the same places. I was like, you know
Hmm.
what? It's like let's change this up a little bit. Let's go somewhere that we can find something different.
That's
Right on.
fun. That's a cool idea.
Hmm.
So, let's kind of move into our deep dive topic. I know you touched a lot on your own inspirations, Chris. Um,
Hmm.
so what would you say? I know you said that like you read the book and it kind of it. Do you think that there and Matthew with Matthew's comment is there an inherent like there because there's a few military guys that go that write Lovecraftian stuff, myself included. Although mine's a weird twist on it, kind of more on the um Forgotten Realms Lovecraft kind of talk, and I'll talk about my anthology. I've actually got an excerpt from my anthology entry, and my companion novel reveal slash publication date later on. Uh, my world is more like I wanted to use the unknown, the void, the black, like that madness inducing stuff, but I kind of wanted to maybe make it more neutral, not so madness inducing. Maybe have a chance to offer to give it like some redemption quality or something along those lines. So it's not
Hmm.
completely just like like craziness.
Yeah.
Like would you think would you say that there's an inherent love for, like that kind of unknown but maybe a thing with like say military or people that are close to it. Um,
There's got to be, it's like there. I always think it's like one of the things that sort of draws me to like things like paranormal or like horror or things like that is just like I want call me masochistic, but I guess it's like I want to see where my fear boundary is, right? Because it's like
Hmm.
having been in like like the actual like gunfights and like having to fight people like out in the middle of the wilderness with my bare hands, like things like that. It's like my fear gone to heights that probably most people don't experience. So something that sort of intrigues me is the idea that there might be something, I guess, out there that it's like still like would induce so much fear and like lack of understanding that it would make you just seeing it would make you go crazy. Like so it's kind of maybe that's the thing about it that I really like is it's like that level of
well,
unknown
a
that's out
lot of
there.
so kind of getting with that. Would you say that it's a lot of military training is all about knowing your limits and pushing past them so that you can become, you
Hmm.
can do what's necessary when the time comes. It's all, practice, 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 training, training, training. Um, so by the it I think Lovecraft gives that option of like you're never going to know that limit because if
Yeah.
the closer you
Yeah,
get to it,
it's
the
the worse it gets. Yeah. And that's one of the things with uh, the thing I liked about Lovecraft too is it was always he always approached every story as a person of rationality who had just seen something that they couldn't rationalize, so to speak. Like every single story that you read is always sort of like I didn't believe that this was possible until I saw X, Y, and Z happen, and now I know like what's out there and stuff like that. So that's something I guess that sort of like appeals to me is sort of like coming from that side where you're okay, I'm always so rational. I could find a reason for anything stuff. It's like, well, what happens if you take somebody who's that character and they're the, that person who's been through like all these things, and they're a very rational human being, and then you take them and you put them in a situation where they can no longer rationalize it.
Yeah, that's
Like
like
it's
tossing
gone beyond what you thought was there.
it's like tossing Sherlock Holmes into the mouth of madness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wonder if there's some kind of I don't want to prognosticate too much, but deep deep psychological connection there with the things that you experience in actual war, the actual horrors of
Mm-hmm.
what people are capable of that you wouldn't think they are until you see it. And
Yeah.
and like you said, and then just wanting to see how far that can go in your imagination with the Lovecraftian horror stuff. How deep can you go into the unbelievable before it drives you insane, or
Mm-hmm.
or makes you stop believing that what you're seeing is real?
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that's kind of a staple of Lovecraft is like, and again, with all the that you read, and when they usually go into it, it's like most of the horror that is occurring throughout the story is not actually like the creatures and things like that themselves. They might make an appearance at the end, or might even, hell, sometimes make an appearance. They're just inferred to have been there. But a lot of the horror that you
Hmm.
actually see is human made, like with the cultists and like that, like doing like like black magic things and stuff. So it allows you to take like that kind of aspect. Like when I do Danforth, is like the build up is going to build up to the end, and you'll see like culminations, and the culmination of like the kind of fear and madness and things like that. But all the build prior to that is all based on like the actions of human beings, and like where, like what depths of depravity they're willing to go to like unleash these types of like malevolent entities for their own
Yeah. And in a way, it kind of, intentionally or not, it kind of mirrors reality, in that oftentimes that's what even soldiers on the quote unquote good side, right, have to reach inside and find some kind of version of themselves that's willing to do the things necessary to win.
hmm
And the bad guys are willing to do so much worse to win too, it seems. So
yeah.
there's a
Yeah,
lot of there's a lot of crossover there.
and you'll see too with like with Danforth, it's so throughout the books, I'm gonna have him kind of start out, kind of novice type of guy. He's still very into the occult and stuff, and that's where his knowledge base is. But in terms of like actually being, like a soldier and being like an OSS agent and stuff, he's very novice in the first book, and acknowledges that. But as the books go on, um, he becomes more grizzled, more stick. He starts to become very, like, he's kind of succumbing to the madness, and I wanted it to sort of mirror that kind of journey I went through with like PTSD, and kind of having to,
Hmm.
you know, like go into like very bad places and things like that. So it's sort of a journey for anybody, I guess, who's already kind of felt that or been through that, and kind of coming out the other side. But yeah, it does come to those things where it starts to, you start to beg the question. It's like, they were doing all of this stuff, um, you know, asking these questions, doing these rituals to try to summon these malevolent entities. But you were kind of asking those same questions. You were going down the same paths or following them, but still curious what they were doing. Or
Like what?
yeah, they did these horrible things to, yeah, like people to, as like sacrifice or things like that. But then you just did something awful too. So it kind of starts to get that thing of, you know,
Like what
what
line are you willing to
you willing to
cross?
do.
Hmm.
Hmm.
That's a exploring in my works too, is are those lines that people are willing to cross, why and when, and what drives them to do it, and at what point they stop themselves and say no more, no matter what. Like what lines are we not willing to cross, I think, are also interesting. interesting
Yeah.
to explore with different characters, to say, you know what, there is a point at which I'm not willing to go any further, even if it means a lose, because it means losing something that's more value to me to go further than to lose my life, or to lose the war, or to lose, you know, whatever is it here.
Lose
Losing
your
myself, losing my soul is
sanity.
worse. Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Or your
Well,
sanity. So
the third volume I'm working on right now, it's definitely been the hardest one to write. And one of the things that I try to do too is incorporate, to, like I said, to the best of my ability, some real life World War II experiences that like World War II veterans had. And since the third one takes place kind of in like that Pacific and CBI theater with the Japanese, some of the things that they did to each other in that theater was really rough. I mean, like the the Pacific Theater, like as a whole, it was like, it was really disgusting. Like each other is like
mhm.
subhuman. It's very racist on both sides. Like they didn't care at all. So,
I can
there's stories that I'd use with like the World War II veteran who said he saw guys that were taking ears and teeth and things like that from the Japanese, and that he was about to do it too, and the medics tapped him on the shoulder before he did and told him not to. And to this day, he said he thanks him because he doesn't know what kind of road he would have gone down had he actually done that. And those are things that we have to like look at.
I can almost imagine like and I hate to throw because I'm having brain farts right now, but submarines in the Pacific like bumping up and brushing
Mhm.
against or getting too close to Cthulhu sleeping down there, and like he wakes up, crushes him, eats it as a pill, and then like goes back to sleep after
Rolls
his little
over.
midnight
Texas.
snack. You know,
Like, stop annoying me. Yeah.
Mm.
Like
It's
he
not
had
time
him
to
in like with the sleep
wake the
hat on,
sleeper
like he
just
was
yet.
like, go away.
right? Don't wake him up. We don't want to deal with him.
hmm
Uh, okay,
Yeah, so
so
it's definitely got a lot to it.
yeah. Well, Lovecraft is so there wasn't much that he wrote. A lot of little shorts, and
Mhm.
but
hmm
it's profound. It is very profound, and it almost makes you wonder, like, at what point does that line cross to induce the madness?
hmm
Um, and
Yeah,
is
and
there any coming back from it? Is 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 the is another question that you could ponder, because you can't really forget what
yeah,
you've
and
seen.
at the end of like Mountains of Madness, that was why I used like Danforth's character, because he goes crazy toward the end. But then there's like the narrators, Dr. Dyer's going through like all the stuff. He starts talking about how like Danforth's kind of pulled himself together, and that but he still has those lapses into madness that just randomly happen. And so those are things I incorporate through the story too. It's like some, like, and like I said, it kind of goes with like that war trauma type of thing too, right? Is that they're supposed the madness with that and the war trauma kind of go hand in hand, where he's just going, and suddenly something triggers him, and next thing you know, it's like he's like falling into like a void and things like that, and he's like getting like sort of these like the madness inducing things from the knowledge that he's learned, and he might snap out of it or something, but they can happen at like any moment.
Facts of terror.
Yeah.
hmm
Okay, well, I'd say let's kind of. I mean, that was great. What would you say? I would say, Matthew, you're not really Lovecraftian writing. What what was? Is there anything else that you could say for like, or that you could think of for inspiration? Because I could. I mean, I know we're Lovecraft inspiration. I mean, that's just like that line crossed. We've
That's
been
the
talking
topic
about
of
it.
the day.
We've been talking about it for like the last hour. Uh,
Yep.
But
Well, I'm a big Lovecraft fan, so it's definitely an inspiration for me too, and that exploring that horror, even though there's no Lovecraftian elements to the story I'm currently writing, it does explore a lot of the same kind of themes of, you know, like we've been talking about. But I think I don't know, I specifically asked about when he brought up the Romanian stuff too, because I think that's another thing that um, inspired me in my writing is Bram Stoker's Dracula
Mm-hmm.
and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and a lot of these older stories that kind of deal with this weird unknown
there had to
and
have been an influence.
yeah, there's always influences in everything we do,
Well,
even if
Lovecraft
our
loved
experiences with real
Stoker.
life.
Hmm.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
Lovecraft loved Bram Stoker. Yeah, he was a big fan of Dracula and Frankenstein. I think he even and Poe I think was his biggest inspiration. But I think that's where he kind of took that thing because when you look at it, it's like all
Yeah, Poe.
those like Dracula and have that sort of core thing of people who are rational experiencing something that's
Hmm.
completely irrational that doesn't make
Irrational.
sense in our
Yep.
reality. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and even though in Dracula the protagonists win in the end, it's not really
at
it's not
what
a
cost though?
really satisfying win. Exactly. It's not
Yeah.
it's not terribly satisfying, even though they do end up winning. There is quite a bit of cost in the process.
Hmm.
And there's no guarantee that that's the end of the story either, right? Like this is just one known vampire. Who
One
knows what else
vampire.
is out
Yep.
there, right? Who knows? And it just kind of opens up that world of the unknown and how you would deal with it. And my story Bloom kind of actually takes a lot of those themes and flips them around from the other side. So
Hmm.
my main characters are the ones with those powers and those abilities, and then they have to ask, where are they willing to stop? What are they fighting for? What are they interested in? At what point at
Yeah,
what
that's
point do you cross the lines, and what lines are you willing to cross and why, and all that kind of stuff.
it's almost like
Hmm.
the White Wolf tabletop series and live action role playing for like Vampire the Masquerade and they've
Mm,
got the Ascension and the werewolves and the vampires. Like you have that
Hmm.
old antediluvian like ancient elders from like way back hundreds thousands of years from the beginning of time, and then like each generation of vampire has less and less to the point where it's like how like they're almost human now, but they still have some of that
mhm.
that that influence in their blood. But at some point, it's creating madness and actually waking up the elders that have been asleep for so long.
Hmm.
You kind of see
I
where I'm
I think
going.
also too, it's like you get some of the yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like some things that you is like whether it's like movies or people trying to write a book is just like people forget um like where where we are in terms of like our headspace when we discover something that's completely out of our realm or like some people like like the author will be writing a character as like sort of supposed to be some sort of everyday person and then they experience but they treat it like less stress or fear than like if they found out that like they suddenly like went bankrupt or something like that. It's like people can't handle simple everyday mundane things sometimes without having a panic attack, but then all of a sudden it's like they'll be writing a vampire book with like this person who is an everyday human being that just found out that there's some unknown world of like blood sucking monsters out there, and they're just kind of like, oh, okay.
It's cool.
Like it's like that's not mind blowing to you. Like that's
It's
it. Like that's all you got.
to be fair, there's this weird dichotomy there, right? Because you've probably got
Hmm.
two kinds of possible reactions, which is the Lovecraftian side of the thing where you're wrestling with your sanity to find out that the world is not at all what you thought it was.
Hmm.
And then there's the other side of, well, I mean, I can wrestle with that insanity, that, or I can just embrace and say, I guess the world,
Yeah.
this is the world as it is, and I don't think either one's, you know, a healthy option. Like
Yeah,
they're
and
both
that's
kind of
something with
in a way giving up. Like either you're giving up your sanity or you're giving up
so
your
that was one of the
your
things I
reason.
did
Like
with
which.
yeah, that was one of the things I did with Danforth for from the time from the Mountains of Madness to World War II. I'll slowly kind of bleed in his that gap of time and everything like that, but sort of like that gap of time was filled with sort of like embracing the crazy and how far he could go. So
Mhm.
like doing occult rituals and going down like, seeking out these things. It was sort of like, like you said, accepting that the world is this way. And so it's like embrace the madness and like, but at some point he has to pull himself back from it because it's like, have you to a point where now you're, like this malevolent human being?
We haven't gotten any chatter from the chat. I know we're still live, but I don't know.
I haven't seen any. Well, I guess we got 5 on Twitch. It looks like.
Uh,
Last I
Anyway,
checked, we only had 1 on YouTube and X though, but that's all right. So, if you don't mind, Chris, there's one question I like to ask all our indie authors. Probably all of our authors. We've only interviewed indie authors so far, but
Mm-hmm.
and that is how do you personally define success as a writer? And I ask that because it's different for everybody, and I think that it's just really good for everyone interested to hear that there's no hard line of what success looks like. So what does it look like to you? What do you define as success, and have you reached it yet according to your definition?
I guess like with mine, like my thing of success is not necessarily like generating tons of money or anything like that, but I guess maybe just getting my work out there. Like my version of success would be getting my work out there in front of enough people that, you know, you could build like I guess some kind of like recognition or like that you can see that people connect with your stories and love them. So then say like when you release the next one, people are really wanting to buy it and read it or something like that. It's like, getting in front of eyes. And I don't think I've reached that level of success. It's hard for an indie author and everything, but
Mhm.
I'm little by little, I think I'm building my way up to that.
Would it be safe for me to translate that as connecting with a fan base?
Yeah, yeah, like generating and
Okay,
connecting with a fan base. I would say. I think that's one of the more important
that's
things
cool.
is creating that.
I had I had
I
wrote
actually
something.
I go ahead.
I was gonna say I had wrote something on X earlier this week, kind of in lieu of the whole that 3-star review debacle that was going on.
Mm,
But
Oh God.
without bringing too much more to that, but it kind of touched on your usual question, Matt. Let me
mhm.
see if I could bring it up. And it's actually like it was one of those like I had it was like early in the morning, fresh coffee on my mind. It was like, let me see if I can pull it up. Slideshow,
While you're pulling that up, just real quick, Chris, I just want to mention that I like that definition. I mean, I've yet to hear a definition that I don't like, but
Hmm.
but I like that one because it's like you're you just want to write something that means something to a bunch of people and is
Yeah,
valuable to them. And I think that that's a cool for success. I really
and
like that idea.
I think that whole thing with the 3-star review thing that was going around, I think that comes down to the base of why it became such a thing and why, whether it's the original author who had the whole thing and stuff, is this like people release the stories because they want to feel like they have people that are connecting with their stories, that they're enjoying the story that they want to tell. And nothing is harder or more crushing than to release a story that you really feel like connects with you and that you want to connect with other people, and finding out that people don't like it.
Right.
Mm.
So
Or they think it's mediocre or something like that. Like it becomes, yeah. I tried to take grace. Like I remember, I think it was like I had four reviews, and they were all 4 and 5 stars. And I was like, hell yeah, like 4 or 5 people like my stuff. And then on the fifth review, some dickhead gave me a 1 star and didn't even put a review down. He
Oh
just gave me a
man.
1 star rating. I was like, that son of a
Oh,
oh, you got
bitch. Like, I
you
was
got
so
that's just
mad.
cruel.
you
That's
got
just
snide.
cruel. You don't even know why.
I don't even know why. Yeah, that was what I think pissed me off the most. Was I was like, if he had put on there like your book sucks or something like that, and just going off
Oh
on it and
man.
stuff, I'd be like, okay, well, cool. But like to just get the 1 star, but then it was like it hurt because man, with only having 4 reviews prior to that and one, man, that just tanked my
Yeah.
average. And
Right.
so then it was like I had to
That.
go through this whole step to try to like build myself back up and everything.
So I got
I
it up right
try to
now.
take those things with a little bit of grace.
I got the post up right now. I don't know if you can see it, Chris. Uh,
Yeah.
but I'll read it off.
Okay.
So it says, "Writing is the journey of capturing your thoughts or an imagination on paper. Anyone can do this in a blog, a journal, some scribble on a sticky note, or a story draft. Publishing invites others to step into your imagination. With it comes praise, critique, or indifference. Not everyone will connect with your vision, and that's okay. Authorship, though, is the craft of shaping that vision into words that others can understand and feel. It's not just about your self expression and getting those thoughts onto paper, but rather it's about the connection that you will have with your readers once it's out in the world. And that final product, though through revisions and edits, will be a legacy that may outlive you. Some of the greatest authors found their fame after they were already gone. Instant distribution wasn't a thing yet. Others may yet get to see the initial results of their work and take off. Some will realize that maybe the world isn't ready for their story just yet and have to wait. Authors like Mary Shelley, Tolkien, Poe, F. Scott Fitzgerald, George Orwell, Faulkner, Dickinson, etc. The list goes on. They all faced rejection, harsh reviews, and early indifference. And now look at them. Their works are timeless. So if you get that 2, 3 star review on Amazon, don't sweat it. At least someone read your work and thought enough to share it with share their thoughts on a public forum, and that alone is a mark of impact.
Yeah, I 100%
Yeah.
agree. And people's writing, it's especially with like the self-published like indie scene now and stuff. There's always been sort of an indie scene, whether it was when you think back to like the guys like Lovecraft and like Robert E. Howard and things like that, they weren't getting published by like these big publishers that were like cranking out like the big books
Mhm.
at that time. They were going into like serial magazines and things like that. Sort of like I guess you could almost say like the bottom of at that time. Like they were going to like Weird Tales and things like that. So there's sort of like that indie scene, but you know, like you said, it's not about just getting your ideas out there. It's about making it so that people can read that idea and connect. And you need to develop your prose. You need to develop that ability to tell your story where people want to hear it. Because even the most entertaining or incredible story or world or things like that can be destroyed by you just telling it in a crappy way.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it needs to be developed. So I feel like, you know, I might not take a 1 star review too hard, but if I keep getting ones, twos, things like that, if I were to see like that my novel was getting really, really like low graded, I would try to take that under advisement that it's like maybe what's going on is not that people just hate me or hate my work. It's that the way that I wrote this is not connecting with people in the way that it should or the way I'm intending it to,
Right.
or maybe
Maybe
I'm marketing toward the wrong
Good at it.
audience.
Yeah, you probably could have marketed towards the
That
wrong
too.
audience. Maybe like I mean, a lot of us we do beta reads and stuff back and forth with some of our close friends. You know, maybe the beta read feedback just
Hmm.
wasn't what it should have been. Maybe it wasn't as critical enough for you. You know, they were blowing
Hmm.
smoke up your ass or something. You know,
Yeah. You know,
uh,
and I
And just
was,
say one more thing that I
man.
sorry,
Go
just
ahead.
one more thing I'd like to say that I when I do presentations um, for like Apex or LTE and other conventions, one thing I like to remind people on a planet with 8 billion people, you have an audience, and it may be difficult to find them, but you definitely have an audience, whatever your story is, and maybe that means finding unusual avenues to get to them. Maybe Amazon Prime isn't Amazon or Kindle or whatever it is isn't where your audience is,
Hmm.
but
right.
Yeah,
or
you know, and
maybe
Maybe you're
my audience surprised me, I guess, because I found out that it was like, I was trying to appeal to, I guess, people that when I thought like, okay, like Lovecraft fans, I was like, okay, well, horror, things like that. But what I'm finding out is like a lot of the people who are Lovecraft fans or like the Lovecraftian horror fans are actually more fans of things like spy fictions and like thrillers and things like that. So it's like
Mm,
I was kind of trying to market toward one audience that might like things where it's like body horror or things like that, and I was marketing to the completely wrong people. It was like what I needed to do was go toward the people who were more into that.
yeah, and depending on how your story's wrote and like the prose is on it, like you could that you could have multiple markets that you could be gearing towards. You know,
Hmm.
you have the Lovecraft fan base, you know, that love, you know, they might enjoy a great, you know, Lovecraftian unknown, but maybe they're not the fantasy Lovecraft or the
Hmm.
it, the historical Lovecraft or you know some of the stuff that you normally you know
Yeah.
kind of get into. Uh, and then you've got yours where you've got like the old like the spy thriller kind of Lovecraft where you know there's all kind of
Hmm.
different avenues and ways that you can kind of bleed some genres together and that's your catch, you know, if that's if people enjoy that writing from you, market it the right way, you know, you have a following because they love the way you blend that stuff together. So you know you got to
Yes.
take your feedback with a grain of salt and take a step back, look at your writing, your marketing, all that good stuff, and figure out how you need to move forward. Um, so yeah.
And I always try to feel like it's like how you feel when you're writing is how your audience should feel when they're reading it. So like there's things too where it's like
mm,
I'm in certain parts of mine where I'm like I'm almost feeling bored writing at this point. I'm like, I need to do something to change this up because if I'm bored writing it, then someone's sure as hell gonna get bored reading it. Like, but then there's times
yeah.
where it's like I can feel my heart rate raising or like my anxiety levels raising as I'm just like sitting here just pecking away. Like I'm like, dude, I am on this right now. So I'm like, if I'm feeling that type of anxiety just thinking about the scenario and putting it onto paper, then I'm hoping that my readers will be feeling that same type of anxiety while they're going through it too.
That's the same with like emotional connections and other, you know, like you got that heartfelt scene, you got that humorous scene, you got, you
Hmm.
know, the if
Mhm.
you're not laughing at your own work because it's supposed to be funny,
Mhm.
then I mean, where was the joke?
How someone else gonna laugh?
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
not
It's like
if you're not
at that point you're just making it. Yeah.
if you're not tearing up in a scene from a reunion of mother and child or lovers or whatever, you know, then where's the connection there? Like you should feel
Mhm.
like the goosebumps and that that feeling of like uh it's almost like I would say it's like pride, you know, like veterans. If you,
Yeah.
or even, really patriotic people, if you don't tear up just a little or got that goosebumps on your thing whenever you hear the national anthem play, like that's
Hmm.
I'm not talking about the music. I'm talking about the lyrics. Like you're actually in the lyrics.
Yeah.
Um, and other songs, not just the national anthem. Like if you are always got that one song that you listen to and it instantly like just hits you right in the feels, you know,
Hmm.
came up behind you, punched, sucker punched you right in the feels, and now you've got like, I'm not crying, you're crying. Ugh.
Yep.
um,
Exactly. And it's like, and you should feel that way about your writing, right? It's like you should, like, when you're in those moments, like you should be writing it, and with like the writing that you're putting on the paper, you should be feeling that. And maybe that's one of the things that I try to do is just like those moments of like the violence and things like that, like gunfights or things that are actually going on in the book. It's like
Mm.
I'm
oh,
I'm almost reliving my own experiences and then just putting it out how I'm feeling onto the paper at that time, so that the people who are feeling the same thing that I'm feeling at that point.
yeah, see, I have a whip that I started. I have it outlined,
Hmm.
and I'm having a very hard time doing that because it is
Hmm.
it's a cyberpunk kind of thriller,
Yeah.
cyberpunk adventure action kind of thing. I'm just synopsis is, so it's on the verge of World War III. Democracy collapses. It's the early years of cyberpunk, genre kind of mythos,
Mm.
where the megacorps start taking over. World War III happens. A soldier, based on my own experiences, goes to war, but ends up, getting blown up and having uh, cybernetics offered to him by one of the corporations, and but it's that entry level where he's going from being a civilian into military training, and I want to make sure that that is
Hmm.
so on point and almost realistic that it's causing me to have
Hmm.
flashbacks, and I have to step back from it
Yeah.
sometimes, and I'm like, I can't,
Hmm.
like I get to a certain point and I'm like, I'm just going away. I'm typing away. And then it's like, I get back and I look at it and I'm like, that's not enough. And then as I dive deep into it, I'm just like, I can't do this. I can't do this right now. Like, it's like, nope, it's September.
Hmm.
I lost 3 brothers in September. No,
I
thank you. I'm not going to do it right now.
Yeah, and I had a moment writing Danforth too. There's a line in there, and I still can't remember if I decided to keep including it or if I took it out. But it was a point where it was like he shot this guy, and essentially it was like he like saw like the round hit him, and like a splash of like blood like it got onto his face. It tasted like blood in his mouth, and it just like I was typing that, and all of a sudden I was like, okay. I was like, one, I don't think anybody reading wants to hear that. Two, I don't like that I put that in there. I was like, but I can't remember if I kept it in there or if I haven't read the whole thing through at this point, like in a while, and I can't remember if I even put that in there. But that it was just so like it was a rough one to put in there, but I felt like it was also, I don't know. I had mixed feelings on keeping it.
So
Yeah,
kind of,
sometimes authentic can be also explicit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna force us to move on subject here, because I could tell
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
we're
Sorry about
starting to
that.
touch some stuff that might be a little personal, and bringing some stuff
Yeah.
back, and I'm not trying to step on any toes here, but with that
Oh, sounds good.
also, so some news. We're moving some news in the indie author community. Not only do y'all y'all's anthology with the Dark Veil Society and your Arkham Chronicles
Hmm.
and stuff. The anthology within the Focia is coming to phase 3. Almost all of our stories, if you haven't had a chance to participate in that, I don't know when the cutoff is exactly, but we are in fully into finishing writing phase, and we are reviewing
Hmm.
and editing our heart's content and I wanted to share an excerpt with you that was identified by my partner, I guess you could say, Ian Snow. We're working together on reviewing each other's work, and he came back with mine yesterday. Yesterday, so I'm going to read this off to you, and I'm sorry that it's a little small on the. It's big enough for our viewers to watch, but I got to bring it up a little bit bigger on my screen. So this is kind of it's a scout team that is kind of in a low fantasy environment. So they're like the old fantasy scouts. And the
Okay.
theme of the system of is a monolith is the revolving theme across all the anthologies. And this particular one is like a flashback dream scenario kind of thing where part within I think it's like chapter not chapter scene I think it's like in scene 3 or 4. So it says the trees were gone. The clearing was ringed by broken stone teeth jutting from the ground, and above them the sky churned with ink black clouds that didn't move. The light was pale and sourceless, casting the world in a flat, shadowless wash that made everything look two dimensional. The monolith stood in its center. Its tip vanished into the clouds. Around it, the worshippers knelt, dozens of them, maybe more. They weren't moving, only twitching slightly. Some wore remnants of armor. Some had antlers. Some had no faces at all. A few still looked human enough to fool the eye if you didn't stare too long. Their heads were bowed towards the monolith, their hands raised in offering or surrender. Dalen tried to step back, but his feet moved forward on their own. The stone beneath them was warm and smooth, pulsing beneath his soles like a distant drumbeat. The runes on the monolith's surface writhed alive, conscious and crawling like ink inside of flesh. They rearranged constantly, forming and unforming patterns faster than thought. His breath shortened. The kneeling figures shifted, and one closest to the edge turned. It wore Garrick's face. The features were perfect, down to the birthmark on his cheek, but the eyes were blank and glassy. It opened its mouth and spoke in Garrick's voice, but the words echoed with layers, like a chorus repeating in sync just out of phase. Dalen, it said, you're almost ready. You are the seam. He staggered, his limbs locked, his vision blurred. A tendril of stone uncoiled from the monolith itself, reaching outward and down. It touched his chest. The mark on his palm exploded in light. He screamed. The world turned inside out. He woke up, gasping, heart slamming against his ribs like it wanted out. That's my little excerpt. That's what I'm going to share with you.
Nice.
Do you think I kept true to some Lovecraftian elements in that one?
Yeah, I
Yep.
think so. Definitely.
Try to go for a
Yeah.
trying to go for like a grimdark scenario, but there's a lot more than that. There's like that's close to, I think 50, a little over 5,000 words,
Okay.
about 7
Nice.
scenes. So
How
that's
long you wanting to make it?
well, I originally wrote it at like 7,600 words, and I was told that I needed to cut
Okay.
it down to about 5,000. So I got it to 56 or 5,600. So I was like,
Okay.
close enough, or 53 or something like that. It was close enough. I think if I
I
cut
really
it,
suffer with writing short stuff.
I was like, I think if I cut it too short, if I cut it too short,
It's
I'm
a
losing
skill,
some of the
yeah.
sentence. Well, what I essentially the synopsis of the story is I've got a scout party of 4 that goes out and is reporting in or observing. They're looking into reports of a city that they lost contact with, and in its place, this monolith appeared. That's changing the landscape.
That's cool.
So, anyway,
That's fun.
Cool. I
yeah.
like that.
Good idea.
So with that, I've also got my own. Where's it at? Did I not add it in here? Holy crap! I probably got it in reveals. Okay, so let's kind of move on to reveals and news. before it gets too late, because we're already at like an hour. We've been going for like almost an hour and a half.
We're having too
So
much fun talking today.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Chris is a
All
great
good
guy to
stuff.
talk to. So
Yeah.
cover reveals.
It's been fun.
Oh, don't tell. No, there we go. All right, so cover reveals. We have the Gilded Iron, Book One, Fractured Piece, and this is by. Hold on, let me pull it up. I had to pull a lot of these. Christopher Neal. This is by Christopher Neal. I don't know why he didn't put his name on. He did reveal this, like, I want to say like within the last day or today or something. It was like crazy that I didn't see any reveals or releases until today. So a lot of these were captured.
Hmm.
But it's kind of like that old I think he said it was a detective spy thriller, kind of like the night, like
Look
older,
more.
um yeah, like that, not
Maybe not.
1930s,
Has a feel to that on the
1940s.
cover.
Yeah.
Nice.
Anyway, all right, so
Yeah,
this one
those
was
are always fun.
released, The Ghostly Tales of the Haunted North Carolina by Thomas Smith. That I believe that was released or showcased a couple days ago, or maybe it was today. I think it's out now, but that looks like an interesting little ghost story. Let's see. S.P. Rowe. This is his Northland Frail, Under the Horn of Hearth. Now, we have SP Rowe coming up, I think, after the Memorial Day weekend, or after the 31st. So we'll have him on the show, and I'm kind of confused because his Amazon page on this says that it was released back in March, but
Hmm.
he's looking for ARC readers for this. So is it
Maybe he just
released?
doesn't know what to.
Uh,
Oh,
It's just looking to hand out some free copies, I guess.
I guess. I mean, I
maybe.
I
Like I
love the
feel like sometimes it's like maybe if this is first one, maybe he doesn't understand.
I
Like
love the
like the arc readers are supposed to be for it.
I love the cover, and I read a little bit of what I could find, and it's going back into Nordic mythology, Nordic sagas and stuff like that. So it's in that genre realm of writing. I actually look forward to like maybe looking into this a little bit more, but and we'll
Oh, cool.
definitely have a chance to talk to him. I want to say it's on the not that one. um, June 7th, right there. So he's going to be on the show June 7th. Um,
Cool.
but anyway, so moving on. Hold on, let me get back to that scene thing. This one was released
I think I'm
today.
actually
Like,
being called out right now.
okay, do you need to go?
Yeah, so I might have to go, guys. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take off, but it was a lot of fun and a really good conversation. I really enjoyed it.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for coming
Appreciate you
on
being
this.
here, Chris.
Thanks for coming on the show, Chris. We will
Yeah,
have
sorry I
this.
had to cut out and stuff.
We'll have this
Oh,
uploaded
no
onto
problem.
YouTube and Spotify for you later, and it'll be posted on all the X and socials and stuff, so you can send it to your friends and family or anybody else that you want to send it to if they didn't have a chance to watch it live.
Sounds good, man.
So, but thank you for
All
coming on the
right,
show.
All
We
awesome.
right.
had a
Thank you,
great
guys.
time.
Take care.
Thank you. Yep, take care, and you guys have a good one. All right.
All right, you too.
You too.
All right, so he's hide his feed. We'll continue on. So this was released like 2 hours ago on X. The Ruins of a
Oh,
Shattered
wow.
Dawn by
All right.
Corey Ratliff. And some of these I had to pull off of like the writing community and
Book
feed.
3, it looks like.
Yeah, book 3 of his Elmerian Chronicles.
Elmirian.
Lemurian. I know there's like a tilde or a double dot in there somewhere. I just can't see it from this side. But looks cool. Um, so this one was actually released on the 15th. Not released, but he posted his picture. We had talked to Jason
Yeah, I remember him showing us.
on Discord a little bit, and then he came back and actually released his picture, said that it was copyrighted and everything, and he's looking to probably within the next month or two hitting the publish button. So I really I like the design on this with with the different the artwork of the almost mirrored tigers kind of thing. Um,
Yeah, I know he did the artwork himself, which is cool.
yeah, yeah, and he
Said
did
no
the art.
AI, and
Yeah,
yeah,
and then hey, it's me.
look at
so
that.
so June 29th, June 29th, I am hitting the publish button. I'm working on
Nice.
finalizing the spine and back cover for the print. I'm doing a limited print on this, but this is just going to be like all of the This is out of the Curiosities of the Eldritch novella series, uh, uh, anthology, I guess you could say. Each one is going to be they're all going to be ebooks. So I'm not going to try to like print every single one of them when it's only going to be like 100 pages. Um, this one just
Yeah.
takes off. I'm doing this one because it is my first book.
Hmm.
But if it takes off, then okay, I'll support the extra ISBN for the release, and then I'll have to probably adjust the cover because it was pointed out to me that I shouldn't use the same color even though it's the same series. Um, Different volume, different title, minor changes
Yeah.
can be made to it at least. So that's going to be a conversation between me and my cover artist. But this design was actually done by an inspiration from the Shambles up in York. So that was kind of cool.
Mm.
But the first glimpse, this is going to be book number 1, volume 1, story 1, entry into the Eldritch world of my saga. So the Curiosities is going to be a companion novella series that is a standalone, each volume standalone, and it's going to add lore to the bigger novel series, which I'm working on. So I'm going to release the first glimpse next month, and then I'm going to while I'm once I hit the I'm done and ready for it to just go publish. Besides marketing, I'm gonna hit the ground running, heavy, hard. I'm on chapter 9 right now of rewrites for the Eldritch Knight, and I'm gonna continue working on that. I've got 37 chapters total. Uh,
Oh, all right.
I might have more, but I know that I have to get this first act done and solidified. The rest of it it'll be easy. But this that first act, where I'm introducing all the characters and all the arcs and all the promises I'm going to make throughout the
Yeah.
rest of the series, I have to nail that, or else the rest of the book is just so. But that's my plan, and I hope to have that out by the end of this year. Anyway, moving on. Then other news that we had going on was hold on. Ah, so the other news we had was like this. I don't know if it was this week or last week or whatever. The changes made to the Amazon royalties. I mean, you don't really have to worry about Amazon because you're on your own platform.
Nope.
And
So far.
were you ever planning on going on to Amazon? So I noticed.
I mean, it's always an option, but I'm not currently planning to. No.
I mean, your ebook, so it's not like this doesn't affect ebooks. This only affects like paperbacks and hardbacks that mostly paperbacks
Mm.
that for those that had the smaller ones, This is why I was saying unless the paperback takes off for the first glimpse, I'm not going to keep doing it, because where my ebook would be like $3.99, uh and it's going to be on Kindle Unlimited for the first 90 days. Well, if I print this, I have to charge a minimum of $9.99, or I'm not, and that's I'm going to get more from my
Mhm.
ebook sale than I would off of that $9.99 price point for a printed book.
Yeah, it's tough. You might sell more printed books though. I don't know.
Yeah,
I've heard it both ways. Just depends on the audience, I think, more than anything. So
like I said, I don't know. I mean, maybe the printed book for that small, might kick off, and maybe people will really enjoy it printed as opposed to an ebook. But I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll kind of go with that. And then let's see, what else did I have here for today? Promo. Okay, so kind of going back. No, I'll go back to collaboration. Hide him. Promo. All right, so I guess we'll wrap it up. Um, had a great time. This was a great episode. I don't know. Would you
yeah,
say
it was
so?
a great conversation with Chris. Yep,
I had fun talking with
we just
Chris.
kept going.
Right?
Sorry it went so long, everybody, but
Yeah. Well,
hopefully
anyway,
it was worth the time.
so hey, if you're still watching the show, and like I said, I haven't seen any chat today. Hopefully this got
Mm,
streamed
neither.
out, but if not, hey, we'll get it later. Uh, if you have anything that you would like to have showcased on the show, I have it up on the screen now. info@plotarmor.online. Or you could find us on X at plot armor online. Uh, Inboxes. Shoot us some stuff. Get a hold of us. Like, say, hey, this is my book. It's coming out this whatever, and we'll get it on the show. Unless it's like really controversial, but I'll have a conversation with you if it is. But if you send us some stuff in, hey, we'll talk about it. And if it's some really big news, I'd absolutely want to have it on the show. And if you just want to be on the show yourself, we have, where did I put it?
I think the link is on our Plot Armor Online X.
Yeah. So the link, I believe, is in one of the comments of the pinned post for X.
Yep.
You could also just DM us directly on the X profile, or you can email us. This is our schedule so far. So today we had Christopher Michael. Next week we're getting Malory back online. We actually, not going to have scheduling conflicts. Hopefully this time. Uh, I do plan on taking the 31st off for Memorial Day. Are you okay with that, Matthew?
100%.
I mean, I know they're observing Memorial Day on Monday, the 26th or something. And I'm like, no, Memorial Day is always like on the 30th, 31st. But, it is what it is. So we're going to take the 31st of May off. And then we'll come back on the 7th of June with SP Row. And then on the 14th of June, we have Kirk Pirchala. Um,
Valiant.
I believe her name is Sarah. Um, but after that, we're open. So if you want to get on the show, that's the openings. Anytime after the 14th on Saturdays, live at 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern, or 8 p.m. for you UK folks. We'd love to have you on the show. We'd love to showcase your stuff. All you got to do is get a hold of us and let us know. I'm not psychic. I can't, if you don't post it, I can't find it. So,
Yep.
with that being said, I bid you adieu. It's been great, wonderful, and have a great and wonderful rest of your Saturday and this weekend in
Yeah.
May. Hopefully, it's not as hot as it is here in Texas.
Keep riding.
Right. Keep writing and keep keeping on. Anyway, y'all have a great weekend. All right. Bye.